I hereby reopen the meeting of this doctorate committee and kindly request the doctoral candidate to take his place before this table. A bit closer, sorry. The doctorate board of Eindhoven University of Technology, represented by us, has examined your dissertation and heard your defense of it. On the grounds of the aforementioned, the doctorate board has decided to award you the degree of doctor. I request that the first promoter acquit himself of the duties entrusted to him.
Uit kracht van de bevoegdheid ons toegekend door de wet en namens het College voor Promoties bevorder ik u, Ahmed Aissa Berraies, tot dokter en verleen ik u de rechten die verbonden zijn aan de dokterstitel. Ten bewijze hiervan overhandig ik u het diploma, ondertekend door de rector magnificus en de promotoren. Very learned Dr. Aissa Berraies, dear Ahmed. It is a great pleasure for me to be the first one to congratulate you and to address you by your newly acquired title, that of doctor. And in these congratulations, I would also like to include your mother, as well as your family, friends and loved ones. Many of those are not here, of course, today, but they are present online. Today you conclude a long period during which, alongside scientific progress, many other things have occurred. Your work has been embedded in the protection program, a European joint doctoral program led by Universitat Politecnica de Catalunya with many partners, including Eindhoven University of Technology and University de Pavia. The aim of this program has been to develop advanced numerical methods for industrial applications. Your project pertained to a joint project between UniPV, here represented by Professor Ferdinando Enriqueo, and Eindhoven University, focusing specifically on numerical investigation of a pilot-operated control valve as produced by our industrial partner for this project, Dolphin Fluidics. I backtraced in time and then noticed that our earliest correspondence actually dates back to mid-2018, when you expressed your interest in pursuing a PhD position in the area of computational mechanics. At that time, you were working for the company EPPM in your home country, Tunisia, and you realized that there's so much more below the surface of engineering work, and that you wanted to deepen your understanding. After the usual administrative delays, you started your project towards the end of 2018 with Pavia as your primary host institute and Eindhoven as secondary. As part of the program, or of the protection program, there were secondments arranged and formalized. And mid-2019, we started making preparations for your secondment in Eindhoven with the envisaged starting date of March, April 2020. Well, although this is more than 5 years ago, I think everyone still vividly remembers that period. It was the start of the COVID pandemic. At least the start of the COVID pandemic in the Netherlands. It had been going on for a while already in Italy, but March 2020 was when it all started for us. The COVID pandemic did not only delay the start of your secondment with us, but it also largely characterized it. The way that you actually pushed through and insisted on having the secondment is actually impressive, right? I think most people would have decided not to do it at all because it was so complicated. But you said, no, I want to do that secondment. I will come to Eindhoven. But as a result of all the delays, it could not start before, I think, September or October of 2020. Nonetheless, despite the fact that you moved to Eindhoven, we mostly met online, regretfully. So the COVID pandemic for you personally marked a very difficult period, well, both personally but also scientifically. And it is undeniable that it has caused delays in your progress and in the project, delays which were very far beyond your control. In retrospect, I want to compliment you for the manner in which you persevered and pushed through, and I think this is characteristic of your commitment, drive and tenacity. In addition to the COVID-related challenges and administrative challenges related to the joint doctorate program, we also faced many scientific challenges, many of which have been discussed here today in this committee. You made several important scientific contributions, of which I would like to highlight two. The first is the identification of the instability mechanism in the pilot-operated control valve in proportional control, related to the so-called, and you related it to the so-called Venturi effect. This is an important engineering science contribution, and it is interesting to note that the paper that we published on that last year in Journal of Fluids and Structures is actually gaining quite some traction. It's receiving quite many citations. So valves have relevance in engineering applications, and this issue is picked up by many people. The second important contribution is the identification and characterization of the so-called added damping effect in nearly closed FSI system. And I think it's important to emphasize that that's a term that you coined. You came up with the terminology which perfectly fits actually the phenomenon that occurs. Our paper on that is still under review at IGNME, but based on the enthusiastic responses to the preprint and the interesting discussions I've had with many of our colleagues, I am not concerned about that at all. The practical challenges underlying these results, and in particular the treatment of such fundamentally complex fluid structure interaction problems in a commercial solver, such as the ANSYS fluid environment, should not be underestimated, however. The enormous effort which has gone into validation of the computations in a regime in which the methods that are available in ANSYS fluid are essentially unsuitable, right? So it's extremely difficult to get those to work. It is present, though invisibly, on virtually every page of your thesis. You managed to work your way through the many challenges, independently collecting additional information on all the various aspects in the computation, and the committee members all agreed that there are many, many aspects involved in the project that you've done, and that you have very good understanding of all these aspects. As a final word to that, let me just say that the ANSYS Fluent Help Desk will not be mentioned in my acknowledgements. And anyone who wants to have further background information of that is welcome to discuss it further with me at a later stage. Okay. I would like to conclude this laudatio with a word of thanks, which I express also on behalf of our second promoter, Ferdinando Riccio. But the first part of it is for me, because I would like to thank you, Ferdinando, for initiating this project and for the very pleasant collaboration that we've had over the past several years. In addition, I would also like to thank the partners of the protection program, and in particular the project leads in Barcelona, Sergio Slotnik and Pedro Diaz. It's been a while since we last met in the context of protection, but it's the way that they initiated it and brought all the people together is really, really marvelous. And I hope that we can have similar types of projects or programs again in the future. I would also like to express thanks to the members of the dissertation committee present here today for their efforts in reviewing your work and for the fantastic questions that they had and the fantastic discussion that they initiated with you during the ceremony today. Ultimately, I would like to thank Professor René van der Molengraft for chairing the session today. And finally, I want to return to you, Ahmed, to thank you for the present and inspirational collaboration that we've had over the past years. And let me emphasize that I also express this on behalf of Ferdinando. So thank you once more, Ahmed. And I pass the word back to the chair.
Very learned, sir. On behalf of both the doctorate board and the Eindhoven University of Technology, I would like to congratulate you on obtaining your degree. After these very kind words of the promoter and the congratulations by the university, we are almost at the end of this PhD defense. Please note that the scientific degree of PhD involves duties as well as rights. As a holder of this degree, you are committed to standards of scientific integrity, trustworthiness, intellectual honesty, openness, and independence. These standards are described in more detail in the Netherlands Code of Conduct for Scientific Practice and in the Eindhoven Code derived from it. You also have duties towards society. You must be clear about the boundaries of your own expertise, and you must communicate honestly and independently about the results of your work, including potential risks associated with it. You are committed to the ethical codes for research and design involving human subjects or animals. Now we are really finished. I would like you to return to your seat in the audience. So in a minute, the committee will leave the room, hopefully followed by the candidate. Then we can take some photographs, I suspect, and after that, the members of the committee can congratulate the candidate in person, the fresh doctor in person, and then the rest of the audience is invited, of course, to follow. This meeting is closed.